Hey there, everyone. Don Evans here from WatchReport.com. And today I'm very excited we get to take a look at the Maurice Lacroix Pontos diver. Now, before I get into the specs here and before I get to talking about the watch, as usual with research, that you do for the review, when I get a watch in hand, whether it's talking to the company, reading around online, looking at the watch myself and checking it out, I try and get as much about info about the watch as I can, and so I could present it to you. And I seen some things online, whether it be forums or other blogs or whatever, and they're kind of discounting the Maurice Lacroix brand. Like, some guys are like, "Well, I like the look of the watches, but I really don't like the name of the brand, or they haven't been around long enough to have prestige or heritage." Well, Maurice Lacroix has been around for about 40 years. And I don't know, when it comes to names, I guess that's subjective because, I can think of much weirder names out there, I guess, than Maurice Lacroix. There's a bunch of, brands with French names or Italian names, Swedish names, etc. Nonetheless, I'm not saying that you should never want to know the history of a brand or whatever, or, this brand's only been around for a year or whatever. But I think after 40 years, that the brand has definitely, put themselves on the map. I just want to get that out of the way. With that said, the Pontos retails for about $3,400. Now you see it on the stainless steel bracelet here. I also have this leather NATO strap for it, or Zulu style strap for it, and I'll show you that in a bit. $3,400. You have a domed sapphire crystal. The case is 43 millimeters. You could see you have another crown, and that operates the inner timing bezel if you like to dive. 22 millimeter lugs. The case is about 51 millimeters in length, 15 millimeters thick. Now I got about 15.2 going right to the top of the domed crystal. Okay. And I have this sized for my 7.5-inch wrist, about 3 links removed, and it weighs just about 200 grams. So I'm going to guesstimate and say 220, 225 with the links back in. As you can see, they are big links, so I'm sure they add a couple grams of weight apiece. This does have an SW200 movement, and as I said, the retail price is about $3,400. Now, $3,400 these days can buy you a lot of watch. Hell, $500 can buy you a lot of watch. And, one of the things when we do the YouTube reviews and we do the written review on WatchReport.com, we always get comments, of course, and everybody has their opinion. And I'm not saying that you're not entitled to it, because we all compare whatever we buy, whether it be car, clothes, houses, whatever. We're always comparing it to something else. Watches are no different. So in $3,400, what are you looking at comparable to this brand, or specifically this model? Well, you'd be definitely looking at Breitling Super Ocean. Sin would somewhere be in there, but they're, a little less priced. And the other one that pops into my head would be Tudor in the form of the Black Bay or the Pelagos, which up until this year, they didn't have any in-house movements in these watches. They were still, they were using modified ETA 2824s. Now, I have absolutely nothing wrong with the Breitling. I love Breitling. As a matter of fact, Breitling Super Ocean is one of my, I love that watch. And I have nothing against Tudor either. I think this watch and the Tudor series of watches are in a little different category as far as they're a little smaller, especially the Black Bay, and it's more of a classic vintage style. Whereas this, and I'm not sure where or what category, I guess, to kind of put this watch in. I want to call it a tool diver. The majority of it is brushed. You do have your helium release valve here on the 9 o'clock side of the case. As you can see, the majority of this watch is brushed. You have accents of high polished here on the bevels of the inner links of the bracelet. on the edges of the case, on the edge of the bezel. But otherwise, it's not flashy. You're not getting this and you're thinking bling. I wouldn't call it that. So I want to call it, I guess maybe an upscale tool diver, if that's even a thing. Could you really dive with this watch? Well, of course you can. It's it's waterproof to 600 meters, which is 2,000 feet. It tells you right there on the dial. You have a screw down crown. Your inner bezel crown is also a screw down. Okay, so once you unscrew it, then you could start moving it around to where you would like to position it. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, this does have an SW200 movement. Some are going to balk at that for the price of $3,400. Okay, I understand that, because sometimes, you can pick up, a watch for $800 these days with an SW200 movement in it. I agree. You could also pick up an Oris that has an SW200 in it, and they're more than $800. But I want you to look at this watch. First of all, we do not try and sell you the watch here on Watch Report. It's not our job. It's the company's job to sell you the watch. Our job is to present the watch with the facts we know and our opinions on it. Opinions, and that's what they are. But I want you to take a look at this watch. As a watch guy, as a guy who likes dive watches, take a look at this. You have a multi-level dial. You have applied markers. Chrome hands. You got the red second hand, which I'll talk about though in a second. Get your outlined minute hand there in red. Date at the 6 o'clock position. Even the M for Maurice Lacroix is applied. It's not just painted on. Okay, look at the case finishing here. Now I'm looking at this through my viewfinder here on the camera, but pretty sure you could tell how good the finishing is on this watch, all the fine details. Okay, look at that. All right, take a look at the case back here. This is a dive watch, and in my personal opinion, as it should be, they went with a solid engraved case back and not an exhibition case back. The end links fit perfectly into the case. There are no gaps, and I mean, when you just take a look at the way they did that, because there's a slight, bevel off here, perfectly matches to the case. You have a very thick domed sapphire crystal. Here is your clasp. Okay, it does have a dive extension on it. Okay, there's your dive extension in there. Now, that brings me to a couple of what I consider maybe nitpicking issues or just little issues. They're not big deals, but this is a dive watch, but yet that second hand isn't loomed. The bracelet uses the pin and collar system. Now, if you've ever done the pin and collar system or tried to do this yourself, it is a pain because the tolerances are extremely tight. Now, that makes it great for when the watch is put back together, or if you do not have to take any links out yourself, because it's going to hold them in there. But they are a pain to remove and size your watch. So I suggest if you are not comfortable with doing that, take it off to a jeweler. Okay. Now another thing you'll notice, which I always think is a nice feature, see that cutout on the inside of the bracelet there? Or on the clasp, I should say. That is so this is not touching directly on the link. Okay. And also, for when you open this up, for your finger to go in there and easily open the clasp. Okay. But speaking of that, something glaringly obvious missing from the clasp, and that would be any micro adjustment holes. There are also no half links on this bracelet. So because of that, it might be difficult for some people to get a perfect fit. Now, Let me put it on the wrist. As I said, I have a 7.5 inch wrist. Okay. Now I have an absolute perfect fit for me. It's just nicely loose. It's not too tight, but the watch is not moving around. This is the perfect way that I prefer to wear my watches. So for me and my 7.5 inch wrist, I think my wrist is a little more flat. It fits perfect. Might not be the same for everybody. You might have some issue sizing it. There is also, as I said, this leather strap included. It's a beautiful, this is an absolute beautiful piece of leather. It's super soft and supple. It's a premium leather. This is not, your cheap, I'm not trying to be rude or whatever, but it's not your cheap China, leather strap that you could see on some budget watches. This is beautiful premium leather. So if you like that route, you have that. This also comes on a fitted rubber strap. I do not have that as an example, but if you take a look on the Maurice Lacroix website, you will see that they have a fitted leather strap as well. When I say fitted, I mean it's fitted to the case. It's not a straight end piece. It's fitted right to it. It's textured in the middle. It's a natural rubber high-end strap. So if you like rubber over a stainless steel bracelet, you could always go that route. Okay. Very, very smooth here with the winding crown. No issues whatsoever. No wobble. And screws back down super, super smooth. Let me see if I can a little close up here on the dial, just so you could take a better look at it. Again, really, I think that's, not that everybody doesn't like to hear the sound of my wonderful voice, but I think really that's what these videos here are all about. We're trying to give you the best look and, a real world look at the watch itself, so you can make an opinion based on that if this watch is for you or not. Check out the knurling, the cutouts here on the crown. Makes it very easy to grasp. As I said, I'm not a bracelet person anymore. I have become more of a strap guy, whether it be a custom leather strap, a rubber strap. This is a watch, in my personal opinion, that is just fantastic on the bracelet. The bracelet just wraps around. It's a beautiful looking bracelet, number one. And it just wraps around the wrist and is just amazing on. So there is a look at the Maurice Lacroix Pontos diver. As always, check out the full review on watchreport.com. There will be a link in the description below. You'll see all my photos. You'll see all the specs. You'll see much more info as I write about the watch and give you, hopefully, as much as you need to make a conscious decision as whether or not this watch is for you. Leave a like or a comment here on YouTube. I don't know why I have to say it, but this is a watch channel. Please make your comment respectful. If not, it's just going to get deleted. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't. You'll never miss another video or review. Check us out on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We run contests on there and everything else. We show sneak peeks of the watches that we have coming in leading up to the review. This has been Don Evans for WatchReport.com, showing you the Maurice Lacroix Pontos. Please check us out on the next video. Thank you very much.